Hello and welcome to the second Give and Go Sunday podcast. This one's a little different. We're recording this at 10:30 at night here on February 9th. I just got done slinging pizza dough and making pizzas at the local Papa John's, and now we're ready to talk a little bit of basketball. We had an interesting weekend this weekend. Really, Friday night was unbelievable. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of the games on Friday, Drew, but there was some really good ones.
I watched the Indiana Portland game.
Yeah, that
which was an absolutely amazing game. And then I watched part of the Pelicans Wolves game.
Okay.
Well, I watched a good majority of that one. I ended up falling asleep about 10:30 for about an hour, and I missed the end of that game though. So
yeah, it wasn't too exciting at the end. I mean,
just another chance to see Anthony Davis play.
In the fourth quarter, New Orleans kind of took over the game, and really, I mean, it was somewhat close for most of the fourth quarter, but you could just really kind of tell
Minnesota was never in it.
That Minnesota
not in the fourth at least. They were in it, and definitely through the first three quarters.
Yeah.
But
really, just in the fourth quarter, the momentum swung towards New Orleans with they played a lot of really good defense in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
What ended up happening actually, which is to me very surprising, was Kevin Love actually started to do worse when he was being guarded by Luke Babbitt rather than Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Because what happened was AD got in foul trouble, so they pulled him off of Babbitt and had him guard.
It took me so long to figure out that Luke Babbitt was even playing.
Yeah, no,
I was like, what?
Well, he just signed like a week or so ago.
Yeah, I didn't know he was on the team.
Yeah, so my thoughts on that is probably just because with the way that Kevin Love plays, he's not really an inside scoring threat all that much. He stretches it out so much, and that takes AD away from the basket. I don't know if you noticed, but at halftime, AD only had one rebound. I think a big part of that was that he was being pulled away from the basket by Love. He ended up finishing with over 10, or I think he might have had 10.
I think he had 10 on the dot.
So, I mean, he definitely picked it up in the second half, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was guarding.
He was outside on the perimeter because that's where Love thrived.
Yeah. And in the second half, AD was guarding Ronnie Turiaf. Whoever's Gorgie Jang, so he was closer into the basket and let him get a few more rebounds.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting to me, though, that Love did worse when Babbitt was on him, just because AD is such a good defensive presence. Actually, tonight
that's the one area of his defense he has to work on. When he's in ISO on the wing, that's the one area of AD's defense that he's got to work on. That's the only statistically, if you go in and look at it. And if you're just watching, you can tell. That's the only area on defense he has yet to kind of be proficient in.
Yeah, definitely. And he's got the potential because
absolutely.
Just if you have a chance, I know you have synergy. It was either, I want to say late in the first quarter, it might have been early in the, it was either late in the first quarter or early in the second, but I think it was late in the first. Darren Williams had the ball on the right wing. This was today's game. Darren Williams had the ball on the right wing. Pretty much shook Anthony Davis.
I saw
crossed
that.
Him up, went between the legs, and then AD
came out of nowhere, recovered
and just stretched out, blocked
and then
it.
He dunked it 3 seconds later.
It tipped up in the air. I don't know who it was. I think it might have been Aminu. Grabbed the ball when it was tipped in the air, and Davis had already just took off.
He was already at the other free throw line.
He was already down the court, and they dished it down to him for an easy dunk. So that was really exciting to see. It was a great play by him.
Yeah, lots of interesting stuff going on this weekend, really.
Really, there was. I mean, while we're on, we were talking about the Timberwolves. I've got a few things about them. Ricky Rubio stepped it up in these last couple games.
Yeah.
Kevin Love has been out with an injury. He played on Friday night, but he did not play.
Well, he ended up getting banged up again Friday night too. I don't know why. I mean, I get the thing where if you're on the court, you got to try to you got to try to play ball, but. When he took that knee to knee or whatever it was that put him down on the floor in the third quarter, he just didn't. I don't see why he tried to get up and put that ball in. He got smashed again coming down and just banged it up even more, I think.
Yeah.
I get the whole thing, so you're in the game, you got to give it your all. But
yeah, it was a
props for him for trying.
It was an easy layup too. I'm very surprised that he missed it.
He couldn't get up.
Yeah.
He couldn't jump at all.
He still probably should have put that in. I mean, I can't jump on mine, but I hit little 2-foot layups.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's kind of a mental thing though when you come into it and you're like, oh, my leg is killing me right now. Your mind isn't totally focused on, oh, hey, I got to put this off the backboard into the basket.
Yeah.
So I mean, things like that happen.
Yeah, it was a tough play, and it's tough that he's been dealing with injuries. And
yeah.
You kind of expect it just because of the way he plays. He takes so much contact, especially being so physical.
He's a bruiser down low.
Yeah, he's a bruiser.
And he's lost size, too. When he lost weight, he lost some of that advantage he had at the weight.
Definitely. And it's definitely caused a little bit of troubles for him. And, I mean, you'll expect that. He's never, other than the broken hand last year, he hasn't really missed a significant amount of time in his career. He'll just have those nicks and bruises, those little 5-game stretches where he's out.
Yeah, my only thing with him is those nicks and bruises, they've added up to, I don't want to say, like a massive amount of games, but they've added up to enough games where if you're looking to be a playoff contender, the games he misses can be significant in a playoff race.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Even those 15 to 20 games, like he missed, he missed 21 the season before last, and then last season he missed
most
55,
of the season
I think it was, or something like that.
More than that. He was out for
a really long time.
He was out for the first 6 or 8 weeks of the season with that broken hand. He came back, and he came back a little early, so it probably wasn't 6 or 8, but came back a little early, played for a month, and then re-broke that same hand. So, yeah, I mean,
it was just kind of
any game that you miss, counts, because especially when you're a team like the Timberwolves, where you're not. I mean, even if you are one of the top teams in a conference, those games count for seeding, seeding and whatnot. But
that's what I was saying. Seeding when you get in there. I mean, if you're a playoff contender, those little, when he's missing 10 to 15 games a year, it's been, during his college career, he barely ever missed a game.
Well, yeah, he only played one season at UCLA.
I think he missed one game. And that was it. He never really had any injury problems. He looked like he was going to be a relatively healthy dude.
A big part of that, I'd have to say, was probably just the fact that his size in college would have been that he was like one of the bigger guys all the time compared to in the NBA. Everybody he goes against is just as big, if not bigger than him.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of staggering to me to see him get hurt this much. I mean, obviously the hand thing, the first time around was just kind of a freak injury. But I mean, the second time, obviously you're in game, break the hand. But it's interesting to see how that'll affect any future. Contract negotiations with other teams, trade negotiations with the Timberwolves, if that's something that comes into play, things like that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the Timberwolves have really been hit with the injury bug the last week or so. I mean, just the other night, on Friday night against New Orleans, Kevin Martin went out with a broken thumb or a fracture in his thumb. Pekovic has been out for a couple weeks now. Love has been out on and off these last few days. So that's definitely hurt them a lot, especially for a team that's trying to make a push for one of those last couple spots in the Western Conference. But it's been nice to see, at least in the 2 games that Love has been out, Ricky Rubio stepped it up a little bit. For a guy that's been averaging 9 points on the year, and we all know about his shooting troubles, he can't score. I mean, he's shown throughout his career that he can't score. He's statistically one of the worst shooters in the history of the NBA.
If he can learn to finish at the basket, I mean that probably raises his percentage points up at least 5 or 6%, which would put him at about league average, a little bit above actually. Mm-hmm. Well, even if you're not having the jump, he's at 39% for the year.
Yeah, and what's most interesting for me is that was what he was somewhat decent at early in his career. He wasn't a great finisher.
No, but he was proficient at it. At least.
He could score at the bucket if he got a decent look. Didn't have to go through too much contact. So that's one of those things that you wonder if maybe that's the thing that's hurt him from having his ACL surgery, is that he's a little more hesitant around the rim or doesn't quite have the same explosiveness.
I feel like he doesn't try to get to the spot where he has the best shot to convert it because of this injury. It's not that he's being less hesitant or he's being hesitant to get there. It's that when he's going in to finish, he's not getting to a spot that gives you I don't want to use the term like a for sure layup, but he doesn't get to the spot where he's got the best potential chance to make that basket.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I can see that a little bit.
I mean, he kind of weeble wobbles, and part of that is hesitation, but the other part of it is, if you can't get to a spot where, say you're underneath the basket, you don't want to be underneath the basket when you're shooting that layup. And you've watched the games. There are times when he will try to make these layups or whatever you want to call it from underneath the basket, next to the rim, next to the backboard, things like that. You want to be at least a few feet away when you're doing that.
Yeah,
It's almost like he's trying too hard in some cases.
And it seems like it's not very natural for him around the basket because he'll often do these really awkward-looking layups.
Yeah.
He'll, from the right side, he'll go up with it, or excuse me, from the left side, he'll do that little where he goes up right-handed with his right leg in the air as well, and then spins it. And that doesn't work all that well. I think he just must not quite feel confident with his left hand around the basket because he also does a little move. He does a little. I haven't seen him do it as much lately, but he did it earlier in his career. A little runner where he's coming across the lane from right to left, and he would just turn his shoulders and shoot it like right-handed,
a floater almost.
But going left, and it was really awkward looking. But he'd make it go down sometimes. But with all that being said, he has picked it up in these last few games, especially with Kevin Love out. Of the last 3, Kevin Love's missed 2, and in the 2 that he missed against Portland on last night, he scored 25, and then on Wednesday night at OKC, he scored 19. The percentages aren't off the charts, but they're still around 50%, which is a lot better than what we've seen him at throughout his career. So, to me, if it's one of those things where he needed this opportunity with some guys out to kind of take that load and maybe gain a little bit of confidence so that when they're back, he can use that to his advantage and maybe score a little bit more.
Well, we've seen that help guys in the past, so I don't see why it wouldn't.
Kevin Durant, even now, he didn't need confidence because he's.
I don't know how you couldn't have confidence if you're Kevin Durant.
But it is pretty obvious that with Westbrook out, he's obviously learned how to take the load.
He's incredibly confident in what he's able to do.
So now the hope is that when Westbrook comes back,
he can still do this.
To work that into it now so that when Westbrook's having an off game or whatnot, he can drop 41 at the drop of a dime, like he did tonight.
Which he appears to be able to do at any point in time.
Definitely.
I'm still not entirely sure that there's 3 or 4 guys right now in the NBA who could qualify as not like demigod, but out of this world creatures.
There really is.
You got LeBron, KD. The way Blake Griffin's playing right now and his athleticism is just,
he is on fire.
It's unreal. And then, who was I thinking of at the 4?
I could see Anthony Davis, Paul George, any of them.
One of those 2. I'm so tired right now.
Yeah, there's plenty of guys in this league.
But yeah,
exciting.
Okay, even push it. Let's just push it to 5. Then both of those guys are guys who. Anthony Davis. We said it last week. We said it on the radio show.
We even talked about it a few minutes ago.
He's a top 10 player right now. And he's 20 years old.
It's unbelievable.
But
only getting better.
Oh yeah.
He's only scratched the surface.
Next season's gonna be really fun.
It should be.
We get to see him in the All-Star game as well next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Something I'm looking forward to.
In New Orleans
personally.
too, which will be nice. I guess I was about to say we could make our predictions. Well, we'll save that for the show this week. We'll do probably want to do predictions on dunk contests, 3-point shootouts.
Yeah, we can do that during during the show we'll have predictions on all of our winners for the contests, for the game, skills competition, Rising Stars Challenge,
all that fun stuff.
And then in the next Sunday morning's podcast, we'll make sure to do that one before the All-Star game, which is on Sunday night at 7, I believe, maybe 8 on TNT.
Sometime around 7 or 8. And I'm sure if it says 7, it won't tip off until closer to 8 because all the pregame crap that they do with the
definitely.
intros, and I'm sure there'll be some kind of musical performance.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar.
Really?
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting.
Definitely. But
I'm excited just because I work Friday and Sunday next weekend, which kind of sucks because I want to watch those games, the Rising Stars and the All-Star game, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to check this week. I'm going to go online and try to find out if those will be archived on League Pass.
I don't think they are.
Are you sure? See, because I know they did. I used to have MLB.TV, and the All-Star game, MLB All-Star game was on that.
Maybe it will be.
And I'm trying to remember. I had League Pass last year, and I just can't remember. But either way, what I really want to see is All-Star Saturday night because I'm actually pretty excited about it. The field for the dunk contest is finally good again. And then, what do you think about the new format of the dunk contest?
I read it. You got the first round in which everybody has. What is it? 2.5 minutes?
Yeah, it's some kind of time
limit.
Like
2 minutes.
It's not everybody individually. It's just the team, the East team, and they each have. It's almost like a layup line.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll just sit there and dunk.
Yeah.
And what I like the most about that part of it is that when you watch a normal dunk contest, say a guy's what's the normal time that they have? Like a minute 30?
When they were doing it individually, they had a minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah. So when you see a guy miss like 4 dunks before he finally makes it, you have all that dead time, like after he misses it, from when he grabs the ball and then walks back to wherever he was going to do and sets up and starts again. That is totally eliminated in that first round now, because if he misses, then the next guy just goes. And it's a lot less dead time, a lot more fast-paced, kind of keep the fans involved.
Well, and then the nice thing about that is that we've got the 2 captains, Paul George and I believe Damian Lillard is in the Western Conference, the captain.
Probably. Who's the other? McLemore and Barnes? Yeah, it's probably Lillard.
I think it's Lillard. It might be Barnes. I'm not totally sure, though. But let's just say it's Lillard. So you got those 2 guys. Whichever conference wins by, I believe it's the judges' score in the first round will determine which conference gets to pick an order of the classic order or variation of it, whether they'll all have their minute and a half or whatever it is, and then they'll do it like that. And whoever wins that is the dunk champion of the night. But then in the first round, what they're doing is there's a Twitter vote and an online vote. You can go in and pick who your favorite dunker was from the first round, and whoever does that gets the best dunker of the night. They're like 2 different titles. One of them gets a trophy, one of them gets like a accolade, if you will.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, and I mean the competition it's team oriented this year. So like okay, we have that first round. The only thing is that first round, it doesn't really mean anything towards the actual competition, because all it is the team that wins
gets
the
to pick
first
the
round.
Order.
They get to pick the order.
I like that though. It gives kind of like, it's almost like a warm up round, really.
Yeah, but then what I really like is the second round, because it's a head to head. You know, so that'll be exciting, because rather than this guy gets an 8 and this guy gets a 7, you know, and then
you compare them, and you pick a winner.
It's more of the battle aspect of it. Like, he just one upped them. You know, it's more competition involved. I really like that.
Have you heard what Ben McLemore is planning on doing?
I have not. I heard
he's going to try and do a 720.
Oh man!
If he lands that and he doesn't win, dude, I don't know what is going to win.
That's the only thing, is that it's such a popularity contest with the whole fan vote being
well, that's only in the first round.
Are you sure?
Yeah, the second round is picked by judges. So the winner is picked by the judges.
Well, yeah, but from what I understand, or at least from what I heard, I listened to the starters explained it on their podcast on Friday. I believe it was Friday. That in the second round, the judges pick between each dunker, and then once a dunker loses, they're eliminated, and then whatever side gets eliminated first. So like the Eastern Conference guys, all their guys get eliminated first, then the West wins. There's no individual winner out of the second round.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So like the
judges essentially pick which conference will win.
The conference that wins.
Yeah,
the player. There's no more like individual dunk.
Well, in the first round, it's a fan thing.
Yeah,
it's like like I explained earlier.
So that's what I mean. It's a popularity contest
exactly,
for the individual champ.
That's the accolade part though, and then the battle part, which is the second round, will give you the trophy for the conference and the players and whatnot.
Yeah. But see, what I'm saying is that 7. So say McLemore does the 720 dunk, and it's great and all that. He could win that matchup. With his guy, but his team could still lose.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I mean, if I had to come out and predict, I think the East will probably win, because my champion, my individual champ pick, I'll just say it now, even though we're supposed to save it for Wednesday, is John Wall. I think he's going to be unbelievable at the dunk contest. I watched his high school mixtape, and it's like a dunk contest. The guy does some crazy stuff, and this was when he was in high school. So you'd have to imagine being a grown man. A few years later, he's probably going to do some crazy stuff. So I think that the East will win. So what I'm saying is that McLemore could do this crazy, outstanding dunk that in years past would like propel him to being the dunk contest champ. But then his team loses, and he could lose the vote, because it's so much of a popularity thing. I mean,
but if people are watching live, I mean, I've never viewed it as like, especially with fan voting, it's not so much of a popularity contest when you get down to voting and watching it. You're not voting because if Paul George was out there, he had the fourth most All-Star votes this year, so he's probably gonna be the most popular player there. I don't see him winning it in any way, shape, or form. I mean,
well, it's the thing though. I mean,
If
I urge you.
you usually
my counter argument to that is go on YouTube later and watch the 2011
okay.
dunk contest, because I actually watched it the other night and I just forgot how amazing some of those dunks were. That was the year that Blake Griffin jumped over a car.
Okay,
and
yeah.
won. If you watch JaVale McGee, DeMar DeRozan, and Serge, I think JaVale probably should have won because he was the one who faced Blake in the championship round.
Yeah.
But even DeMar DeRozan had an outstanding dunk he went along the baseline and caught it, windmilled or something. I don't even remember what it was. That was great. Serge jumped from slightly beyond the free throw line, if I'm remembering right. And that's a 6'10" power forward. I mean, there were some great dunks, and I really wasn't all that impressed with Blake's, especially that final one.
It's the theatrics of it.
That's what I'm saying. It's a little bit of a popularity contest in that case, because Blake was the one that was Blake's.
You could almost say that was staged for him to win, though. I mean, he
they
came into the league. He is the dunker.
Yeah,
like,
that's
that
what
is
he was
his
known for.
thing.
That year,
but this year you don't have that. I don't think it's gonna be a popularity contest. I think if Macklemore lands a 720, I mean,
he'll probably get that vote.
I don't see how he doesn't win.
I hope so. I hope that not necessarily that Macklemore wins, but I'm just saying I hope that
whoever
deserves it wins.
Yeah.
So that'll be so much fun to watch, and we'll get more into that on Wednesday on the show. That's 6 to 8 live online. KarenU.unl.edu. Check it out.
Yep, definitely.
So that'll be a whole lot of fun. I'm excited for that. What else should we get into? Let's talk a little bit about the Orlando Magic. Probably.
I'm down. Let's do it.
They won on Friday night against Oklahoma City on a last-second buzzer beater slam dunk by one of my favorite players, the guy that I'm really high on. That's Tobias Harris. Yeah, those of you that haven't seen him, he's what I think is the prototypical three. What teams want in a three, the kind of player that teams want, or the kind of player that teams want out of like an Anthony Bennett or a Derek Williams. But those guys just can't quite do. He's got the size. He's about 6'8", maybe 6'9". He's beefy. I don't know his exact weight, but he's a big dude. He's strong. But what he has the ability to do is he can score inside and rebound tremendously, like the Derek Williams and the Anthony Bennett types. But he can actually dribble.
Yeah.
Teams want those guys to play the three, but they just can't. They're fours because they can't dribble and they're not consistent enough from the outside. Tobias, on the other hand, he does those things well: the scoring inside, the rebounding. He's got the size. He can play the four if he does play the four often. But he also plays the three, and he plays it effectively because he can dribble very well.
Yeah, and another guy on that team, I know you're also kind of bringing I wouldn't say you're as high on him as you are Tobias, but Mo Harkless has been, when he's been getting minutes, he's been turning in numbers. He's been turning in good defensive play. That dude's stepping up, and if
good.
I mean, when he comes up, he's in his
second year
of that rookie contract.
He was like one of the youngest players in the league last year.
Yeah, I think he's 19, turning 20 this year.
He's extremely young.
Maybe 21.
Very athletic.
But, I mean, after these next 2 years, Orlando's going to have a hard time keeping that guy.
I can see it.
I mean, with qualifying offers that are going to come out with the new CBA in place, if they want to keep him, they're going to have to rearrange the lineup, possibly make some trades. I don't know. I mean, I think they're trying to right now build around Vucevic and Oladipo, but that is assuming that Oladipo does become a point guard. I mean, they're trying to do kind of the same thing as the Supersonics / Thunder did with Westbrook, turn a shooting guard into a point guard. I think if they can build around those two guys, or if that's their plan, you're probably going to end up seeing, you're going to have to see Tobias or Mo go.
They're going to lose guys no matter what, because really what they've been doing these last few years is stockpiling assets, which is the smart thing to do if you're a young rebuilding franchise. They did a terrific job in that Dwight Howard deal. They actually got both Mo Harkless and Vucevic in that deal from Philadelphia, which, if you look at it, was just such a terrible deal for them because they got
Philadelphia got screwed.
They got zero out of him and gave up.
I almost feel bad for them because then they go ahead and they're just now they ended up trading Drew Holiday, who was a young point guard, Obviously you got Michael Carter Williams now, which is not a bad consolation prize. He's also really young. But you give an experienced young vet, one of those young veteran guys like Drew Holiday away for Nerlens, who...
And don't forget, Nerlens and this year's first-round pick for the Pelicans. I believe it's either top 3 or top 5 projected.
Yep. Okay, here's another thing we can talk about. Maybe after this we'll get a little bit in more, but I'll just hit on it real quick here. If New Orleans somehow lands a top 5 pick this year and defies the odds, and they keep that pick, they are going to take, if they can keep guys and re-sign them, they're going to take the league by storm.
Yeah, they'll be unbelievable.
By 2016, they'll be a top 4 playoff team. I would predict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's going to be if they land a top 5 pick, which is a stretch at this point.
It is. The only thing that helps them is that they've got so many injuries now.
Yeah.
But the thing is they're actually playing a little bit better.
Since they've been playing better at home. They're still really bad away from New Orleans, which has got the new Smoothie Center name.
Smoothie King.
Smoothie King Arena or something like that. I still haven't gotten used to that one. But
no, it's interesting. I'm surprised that a smoothie company could become big enough to support a stadium like that.
Must be a pretty nice smoothie company.
Well, from what I understand, it's not like smoothie restaurants. They actually have like in store. Yeah, they sell smoothie stuff in grocery stores and whatnot.
Well, anyways, enough about smoothies.
Yeah. We're gonna go off on a nice 10-minute smoothie tangent here.
Smoothies.
I'm a big fan of the banana strawberry kiwi banana. I think it is.
Ooh.
Something like that. Oh, it's good stuff.
Strawberry kiwi, I can understand, but with banana, oh.
Well, yeah, that's the funny thing. I actually hate banana.
Oh, I do too. It's gross.
I hate eating bananas. I hate banana popsicles.
They're gross.
Disgusting. Everything banana.
The Laffy Taffy banana is the worst thing ever invented by man.
It is, but I dig a smoothie that's got some kind of banana in it, and I also like peanut butter banana sandwiches. But
that's just gross.
Oh, you're crazy, dude.
Dude, that's gross.
Peanut butter banana sandwiches, and in particular,
that's disgusting.
A grilled peanut butter and banana.
Oh, that's it, dude. No, don't even put it on the stove. Or
quit acting like I'm crazy. Because
you are crazy, dude.
A lot of people like that.
That's gross.
Elvis.
Anybody out there who likes that is crazy.
Well, okay, we've had our moment of ADD time talking about peanut butter and bananas and smoothies. But we were talking about New Orleans, and I definitely agree with you. They are going to be exciting. We've talked plenty about Anthony Davis. Say they can somehow sneak in. They're going to be exciting either way because they're only going to
if they even get a top 10 pick this year.
Well, they won't though. They can't. And that's the thing. If it's not top 5, they lose it. So So it's
the problem is they don't have a lot of pieces right now. But they kind of do.
They have pieces they can't work with.
If they can manage to maybe dump off a contract,
that's what they need.
Hopefully they can keep. Okay, if they can keep Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis and Ryan Anderson, those 3 guys.
Yeah.
Put everybody else up on the market. Maybe give Jason Smith, who's a starting center, out with a knee injury right now, a new contract.
He's a solid.
Or not a new contract. He's on an expiring contract after this year. And maybe if you can dump Tyreek,
that's the thing.
Tyreek has got a 4-year, $44 million.
And same goes for Eric Gordon's deal.
Yep.
There's just so much money.
But Gordon's deal is a little bit, despite the fact that this year, which will probably be his first full year in the league. Thank you. We need to knock on wood there. That contract, depending on how he picks up play in the second half. Because right now he's only looking at, being like a second or third scoring option. He's not a first, he's not that go-to guy yet.
Those injuries really kind of derailed his career.
Absolutely.
Because he was looking really good early on.
He looked like he was going to take the league by storm for a while. Then he got traded to the Pelicans, and he didn't want to play, and he had his knee injury, and then he ended up getting the max contract because of how the rookie contracts and coming out of that works with the CBA. But I don't think they can get rid of Gordon right now. I think they're going to have to wait about, another year or 2.
See, I like how Gordon fits with them. I really think they should not have gotten Tyreek in the first place. That was, to me, a terrible move. They just went out and signed him. They didn't have any room. They basically said, You're gonna have to come off the bench, and he's not really used to that. He has
the other problem is they give a bench guy $44 million.
Yeah, and he's
over
played
4 years
terribly this year. I like Gordon's fit in that.
He was really good when Eric Gordon was not there. When he was in the starting role, he was playing phenomenally.
Well, yeah, he needs to have the ball in his hands. That's
exactly.
When he was at his best in Sacramento was when he was running
25 and 5.
When he was like a point guard, he would just
20 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds on an in and out basis.
He was terrific. He really looked like he was going to be a great player for years to come. But I mean, I just don't.
He was playing that hybrid point guard position, and then they, Sacramento kind of moved on. They got rid of him, and no one else has an offensive system that allows him to do that.
No.
And the other thing is they signed Drew, and then they went and got Tyreek, which is kind of the major. If you would have just gotten Tyreek and let him play point guard, that would be a whole different thing. If you can kind of mold a guy into being a more pass first player, especially when he's so young like that. Still, I think he's only 23 now, or maybe turning 23 this year.
No, not that young. If I actually had to guess, I'd say it'd be 24, even 25. But if he might be 23, there's no way he's still 22. He's been in the league for at least he came in.
I think this is his 4th year now.
Probably, yeah.
But wasn't he a one and done?
When he was 19, yeah.
Okay, so he's probably 24 then.
Yeah. I mean, I'll look it
or
up.
Turning
I'll look it up while we're talking.
That's
about
fine.
Because it's gonna sit. It'll be on my mind.
Yeah. Okay. So he's probably turning 24 more than likely.
But still, yeah. I like Gordon a lot for their team because he's a shooter.
But the money for him and what he's playing like right now is not
definitely not worth it. No.
If next year, if you can kind of take a step as a scorer, and you can, you got Davis for. This is his 2nd year now. You've got him for at least 2. If next year you can make a very visible improvement, and obviously it'll definitely, as far as money goes, Davis staying in New Orleans is probably going to be the most reliable option for him for the probably next 6 years.
Just because they can offer him.
They can offer him the most money.
Yeah,
that 5th year and up to the $90 million or maybe $100, something like that.
I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it's definitely better for them. But for him, excuse me. But they just need to be cautious of that. Make sure that they can have that max money because he will, no matter what, he'll be a max player. He's already a max player He's in his 2nd year. He's got 2 more years now because of the option. He'll have an option after this year and an option after the next year, team option. So,
Anthony Davis' contract for the Pelicans right now is like the owner of Nike working in his own sweatshop.
Yeah.
It's
something
pointless.
Probably like, $6-7 million for a first overall pick? Something around there?
No, 4.5 over the 4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's cheap labor.
Yeah. Oh, for what he's doing for them, yeah, that's really nice. I mean,
yeah, it's nothing essentially.
But they'll definitely have to be ready to pay him big time.
Well, and that's the other problem that you have with signing those guys. You've got to create room. Drew's on a pretty sizable deal, I believe, as well. I think he's got another 3 years, sitting at about. I want to say it's roughly $24 million total, so about 8 over each year. And New Orleans isn't a team that's going to dig into that luxury tax. They just can't afford it. So, you end up trying to deal with that problem. You're going to start running into all sorts of problems. Because if Davis can avoid any more injuries, or at least any, big injuries that would cause any concern about injury proneness, if he is really worried about getting out of New Orleans, I could see him taking a qualifying offer.
Really?
One of the few players I think that will ever do it would be him if he can stay out of injury issues.
That's the big key. And that's something that scares me a little bit about him because I watch him a lot, obviously because I'm such a big fan and also he's on my fantasy team, Brow Down, that's what my team's called. And I'm 13-1 and I dominate just about everybody. That's beside the point. It scares me a little bit with him because I think a big part of it has to do with the fact that he had that late growth spurt in high school. He's not quite used to his body yet. If you watch him, he takes a lot of really, really ugly falls. Some scary looking ones.
I was going to say, even versus Minnesota, he got hit by, I think Corey Brewer came down him on a fast break. And he's probably, I've got to give him a little more credit than I do, but it looks like his legs are going to snap every time he gets hit like that. I don't know if you remember the exact play that I'm talking about, but it looked like he collapsed in on himself. And I thought he was for sure injured. He just popped right back up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things where, you got to be careful with that.
That happens. I'd probably say like once a week, once every 2 weeks. He has one of those where, just like the one we were talking about, where you see it and you immediately like gasp.
Like not Anthony Davis. You took Eric Bledsoe. You took everybody else on the planet. Don't take him.
Well, yeah, and he already missed a month from that broken hand.
Yeah.
So
the injury gods are not in our favor this year for the NBA.
Yeah, really. They haven't been the last couple of years, and it's
last year was really the start of it, but okay, Derrick Rose 2 years back in the playoffs, but that was kind of there was no foreshadowing to it necessarily, but the shortened season was not helping him at all.
Yeah, well, and we won't get into this now because we're not on that kind of schedule right now, but we will on one of the shows in the future, and we'll talk about the possibility of shortening the schedule somehow, because I think that has a lot to do with the injuries that we've seen, these back-to-backs, the travel. Sometimes, especially when those teams, usually at least once, maybe a couple times a year, these teams play these 4 games in 5 nights, and that is just brutal. Back-to-back, and then a day off to travel, basically, and then back-to-back again.
Yeah.
That's just too much. So, really, that's something that we'll talk about. We're not going to get into that too deep, but it's something to keep an eye on because really these injuries have just they've been good seasons. This year has been good so far, and last year was a great season as well. But just imagine how much better it would be with Derrick Rose healthy, with Russell Westbrook healthy the whole time, Eric Bledsoe.
Rondo.
The way Phoenix was playing, Rondo. This year it wouldn't have mattered because Boston's so bad. But
with Rondo on that, Rondo wins you another 5 games.
Yeah, well, and last year when they had KG and Pearson, and they might have been a bigger threat going into the playoffs if they had Rondo.
Yeah.
So really, the injuries have just sucked, and it's something that we hope the league can figure out. I'd like to talk a little bit about a trade idea that popped into my head. Being a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, really, I'm from Minnesota, so obviously I follow them. I've been just spending really subconsciously for the last couple months, I've been constantly thinking about Kevin Love and the trade possibilities because a lot of it has to do with the media. I think they've just been drilling this idea. Every time you turn around, you hear somebody saying, Kevin Love going to LA, they act like it's already done deal.
Has your opinion changed, though? Do you think he's going to be there after next year? Because I know for a while you were saying yes, just because of how things were working. But
my initial thought was that he'd more than likely come back just because they'll have the opportunity to give him an extra year and extra money.
He turned down the 5 years.
No, they didn't. They didn't offer it to him. That's one of the reasons why people think he's going to leave so much is that David Kahn didn't offer him the 5 years.
Oh, he gave that to Peck then.
Yeah, well, he was saving it for. They thought he was saving it for Rubio or something like that.
Oh, that ain't happening now.
I don't know the exact deal, but yeah, they didn't give him the 5, and that's a big reason why people say he wants to leave is because he feels slighted, even though it was a totally different GM and whatever. But so yeah, I get what you're saying. That my opinion is starting to change. For a while, my thought was that he's probably going to come back, but I don't know. Things aren't really panning out. Ricky Rubio's. I'd even go as far to say, at this point in his career now, people will, if anybody actually listened to this, if anybody that really cared or knew anything about the NBA, they would scold me, like a Zach Harper type. He would scold me for saying that Ricky's a bust because he's so young. But what I'm saying is that at this point, you would have to say that Ricky's a bust. I'm not giving up on Ricky by any means. He's still extremely young. Shooting is one thing that you can actually improve on. You can't.
But he hasn't.
Yeah, you can't become fast and become 6'8".
I agree with you in a sense, but I agree with you in the sense of it's almost like an Anthony Bennett thing. You expected more out of him, and he's just not producing right now. You're not going to give up on him. He still has room to improve. He still has the opportunity to improve.
Well, yeah,
but he's just not there yet.
I think the difference with Rubio, though, is that in the case of Bennett, he had never played before.
No.
The expectations were there because he was the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
But One, it was already a weak draft class. 2, he wasn't even expected by anybody to be the number 1 overall pick. So there are
that number 1 overall pick's in a haunt
the
him
number
for
one,
years.
Yeah, the number 1 is there no matter what. He was the number 1 pick. But there are other circumstances that come along with it. With Rubio, that first year, he took Minnesota by storm. I mean, you want to talk about people taking something by storm? We all in Minnesota just
popularity as far
because when it was magic. He took the floor. I mean, I remember when he first started, he was coming off of the bench, and you could just see it. When he was on the floor, the team just played so much better. I mean, it was night and day from when he was on the floor.
One thing I still think he provides a solid chemistry with anybody in that locker room when he's on the floor. He meshes with those guys, and he seems like a really a fun-loving dude. Yeah. He doesn't seem like a guy who gets caught up in all the, harsh emotions that can come with the game. He's just there to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But part of that also is a little bit of a downfall. I don't think that's why he's not improving, but I think that could be part of the reason he's not improving so much. He's there to just play and have fun and do what he knows he can do. And right now he's struggling. He has been all year.
Yeah. I think
you're going to have that, though.
Yeah. Another thing is that he's kind of got expectations not only from other people but also himself.
Yeah.
This is a team that's looked at as ready to take, or at least coming into the year, ready to take that next step and go to the playoffs.
They were looking to be a 6 or 5 or 6 seed.
And one part about his game is we know he's had trouble shooting, but another thing, it takes it to the next level that he's so hesitant to shoot. And I think that has to do with the fact that he's got these expectations to win. He knows that he's not a good shooter, so he doesn't want to work on shooting. You know what I mean? If they were worst team in the league status, like going to be a top 5 pick, and they weren't expected to win, he could shoot more in games knowing that it's not that big of a deal if he misses and they lose, but he's just working on it, trying to improve, where now it's like he's really hesitant to shoot because he knows
it's going to take him an off-season where he's healthy.
Yep. That's a big
deal. And you'll see his, I would imagine.
He was healthy last offseason.
Yeah, but his shooting numbers stayed relatively on par. And then this offseason, he had his Achilles. And
no, he never had an Achilles injury. He had the ACL.
Sorry.
2 years ago. It was his rookie year. He had the torn ACL about halfway through the year. He missed the second half of his rookie year, and then the first half of last year.
I thought that was last year into this year.
Nope, he came back and played the second half of last year, and then has been.
Are you sure?
100%, without a doubt, in my mind. He got hurt his rookie year, and this is his 3rd year in the league. There's zero doubt. I mean, I'm a Timberwolves fan.
I understand.
I remember when he got hurt.
I could have sworn that was this summer.
No, because he's been playing this whole year. He started. Last year he came back about mid-season. He struggled at first. He was rusty. He got it going late in the season. He was putting up really good numbers. And then this offseason happened. They added Kevin Martin. They re-signed Pekovic. The expectations were high coming into this year, and he just really hasn't lived up to the standards. But so all that aside, I've been thinking about Kevin Love trade opportunities, and the one that I was on for a while was Blake Griffin. I'm getting to the point where I don't even think LA would want to trade Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
Obviously, Love is more polished right now still, even though that Griffin's developed so much recently and this year. But the potential is just so high with Blake Griffin. He is just off the charts good. So the new one that popped into my head this weekend was with the Orlando Magic, and it'd be one that would happen in the offseason or basically around draft time.
Okay.
And it would totally depend. That's the part about this deal that makes it pretty far-fetched. That it would completely depend on the Magic being in position to draft Joel Embiid. Right now, they're the second worst team in the Eastern Conference record-wise. I mean, they beat Indiana and Oklahoma City this weekend, so things could be turning around. But
they're still going to end up
with
one of the
worst. From what it looks like, they're going to be one of those top or 3 worst teams, maybe 5 worst teams. So they're going to have a chance to get into those top 3 picks. And obviously, right now, a lot of people think Embiid should be number 1, but it could totally change. There's so much time left.
It depends on who winds up where.
Mm-hmm. Depends on what teams are where.
If Philly winds up with a top 5 pick with their own draft pick, then they're not going to take Embiid. They've got Nerlens Noel coming back.
Yeah, totally forgot about him.
So they're not taking Embiid.
And the same kind
in that stance, though, you're probably going to be looking at Jabari Parker
or Wiggins, depending.
I don't know. I mean, it depends on what they do with Evan Turner.
Well, and a whole lot depends. So much depends on the rest of the season because there's still.
Come February 24th, we will know so much more about what the draft is.
Venture as far to say even farther than that because a huge part will be the tournament. If Wiggins develops and Embiid, as great as he's been, you see those moments where you think, okay, this guy's been playing basketball for.
He doesn't have many of them though.
No, he doesn't.
I mean, he's only been playing for 2.5, 3 years, and he already looks like he's
extremely polished for what his experience level is.
I mean,
but I'm just saying, these guys, if they continue to improve,
they all have that
over the remainder of the season, and then there's the conference tournament.
Yeah. I mean, I get that.
And then the NCAA tournament. I mean,
even in conference play, we've seen Wiggins rise back up. A lot. Yeah, exactly. Parker and Wiggins have kind of had like this up and down. Like when one goes up, the other one goes down.
It's such a roller coaster ride.
Exactly, and they've both kind of like evened out as of late. They're both playing pretty consistently for where they've kind of been expected to go.
Yeah. So I mean,
and Wiggins is sitting on top right now, I think. But you got to think Joel Embiid right now on most big boards number one, just because you don't have he's an Olajuwon type player.
He's that once in a lifetime type of deal.
You don't get that.
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys like Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins don't come along every day either.
No,
but they're still a little more often.
You can find guys exactly. You can find guys who are more like Parker and Wiggins than you can Embiid. You do not find a 7-foot dude.
Eraser. Again,
he's just
moves, touch. I mean,
and he's athletic.
Right.
He can run the floor. He's not slow.
I want to finish off my trip, but I got one other guy that I want to talk about. I don't know if you saw this video. We'll get to it in a couple minutes. Okay, so Orlando, if they're in the spot to potentially take Joel Embiid, I could see a trade where the Wolves would trade Kevin Love to Orlando. We just talked a little bit ago about how Orlando has all these pieces. They've got the young guys like Tobias Harris, Nick Vucevic, Mo Harkless. Even Andrew Nicholson's played really well. Then they've got the veteran guys that are going to be on expiring contracts that could help out, like a Flalo, Jameer Nelson, Glenn Davis. If if Orlando could package something together with revolving around Vucevic, because although Vucevic is a center and so is Pekovic, Vucevic can play the 4 offensively just because he shoots. He's very he's
got like a 16, 18-foot jump shot.
He hits those mid-range jumpers. He's also improved greatly from last year to this year on his free throw shooting.
Absolutely.
The only thing is that he's not a great rim protector, but he's still better than Love, obviously. He's bigger.
The thing with that, though, is if you give him up and you're talking about maybe not having a rim protector up in Minnesota, you're still not looking at having a rim protector, but you have the possibility of still developing Jang.
Yep.
The guy out of Louisville, he's a 7-footer as well, I think. He's just really slender. He's kind of like Nerlens.
Yeah.
But
he's a little more on that.
He's looked at as potentially being a rim protector if and when he's developed.
He's one of those guys that's already a really good shot blocker. He'll come over and block.
He's not good at altering your shot though.
He has some trouble getting in the right position to alter those shots that he can.
But then you also have one of the best rebounding duos in the league. And another thing that would be really interesting is if you had a situation where maybe you trade on, obviously Embiid getting traded at the number 1 spot is highly improbable with whoever takes him.
I doubt.
But so let's for kicks and giggles, let's say you trade Embiid and Mo Harkless to Minnesota for Kevin Love. In that case, you've got Vucevic playing the center, Kevin Love at the 4. That's the best rebounding front court in the game, just with those two.
It is. It definitely is.
Because you don't.
If I'm Orlando, I'd much rather.
No, absolutely. You rather have.
Love and
Embiid. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You've got that potential once in a generation or once in a lifetime rim protecting low post scorer to go along with
Kevin Love,
the best outside scoring threat at that position in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best stretch 4.
Maybe Dirk, but Dirk's obviously at the very end.
Dirk's
still, but you could still when Dirk is hot, it's still like.
Well, I mean, and Dirk is Dirk's one of those players who's unguardable.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the best, most proficient scorer, but if he's got a shot falling, he can put up numbers like anybody's business.
Dirk, LaMarcus Aldridge, similar guys. The guys that are that big,
You're
that
7
no matter
foot,
what, you can't.
They've got the like,
high release.
in the 5th grade when you were in PE and the dude, your teacher, dude or chick, whatever, taught you to, make a draft with your arm when you're shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys took that to heart. I mean, they shoot with the ball and their hand is 8 or 9 feet in the air.
Exactly. So that duo there with a Love. I know Love isn't one of those guys that we're talking about.
Yeah,
that can shoot like that, but still,
nonetheless,
Love is terrific. That duo. If they could build around something like that, they could be great for years to come. And they've got the pieces to make it happen. Like I said,
they do.
Vucevic, I think would play really nice with Peck because Peck is one of the more underrated low post defensive players. He's very. I wouldn't say one of the most underrated in the league because he's not that great, but he is underrated. Like he's better than he gets credit for.
He is absolutely.
He is actually pretty good defensively. He's just not a rim protector.
No, he's not.
He does a terrific job.
He can grab rebounds.
Getting in position.
I think he averages like almost 9 a game, right? So something along those lines. He's not a rim protector. He's not the best rebounder, but he does have a presence down there just because he's so big.
I'd say that his rebounding numbers now, obviously he'd be playing with Vucevic. They probably wouldn't go up, but a big part of his rebound numbers not being as high as they could be is that he plays with Love. Because he is a really good rebounder, especially on the offensive glass. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in the league, but on the defensive end, I think he struggles a little bit with that.
Well, and that's as far as positioning goes.
Vucevic
but that's why having
having
Love there is kind of covered up for it. If Love misses it, he can get it even in bad position.
Yeah,
and then Vucevic would take that spot on that as far as rebounding goes.
And then they've got other pieces too. So I think Vucevic and Peck could play together because although Vucevic isn't a rim protector yet, he is improving. He's gotten they were expecting a little more of a jump from last year to this year defensively, and he hasn't really lived up to that, or at least from what I've seen. He's had some injuries, but Orlando's another one of those teams that I watch a lot. He's improved though, and the fact that he's 7 feet tall and he's big, he's not a slender guy. He's not huge, but he's still pretty strong, pretty beefy.
He's not skinny by any means.
Yeah, so he's definitely got the potential to improve greatly defensively.
Big thing with that is footwork, and a lot of guys I think struggle with that. That's another reason Embiid is so. He's so revealed as one of these once in a lifetime dudes. His footwork for playing 2 or 3 years is better than some guys in the NBA.
Definitely.
If anybody gets a chance to watch Kansas play college basketball on ESPN on Saturday or Monday, you gotta. It's unreal to watch 2 guys on the same team who are both 18 years old
and that good
and that good play at the same time in the same place. And
I'll add both international players, and this is the start of things to come because within the last 5 to 10 years. The league has really, on the shoulders of David Stern, has really expanded overseas.
196 countries.
196.
They're broadcast in 196 countries.
So these are kids that are now
and they have players. They have players from 21 different countries.
Yep. It's only going to get better and better and better. This international play, and it's really going to help the league in general because in 20, 30, 40 years. When you filter in more and more terrific international players, sure that'll cut out some American players at the
level
bottom.
Of play will
from
go
top to
up.
bottom. These teams are going to be just stacked with good players because of all these guys.
The big 3 will be no more. And that the idea of you have to have 3 guys who will do it is going to be gone.
And there will be a lot more parity in the league.
Absolutely.
Every team will be better because
there will be
more great players.
I can't wait to see some of the rivalries that are here in 5 years. You're going to be seeing some of the best basketball the league has ever seen. I'm not going to go high and above the Bulls of the 90s, but you're going to be seeing play that rivals that before too much longer. I would even venture to say before LeBron is out of his prime.
Yeah, well,
that's just me though. I think LeBron's prime will go until he's about 32 or 33, and then he'll have a fall off, just because of his size and his
even that. I can see he's one of those. He's done such a great job, guys. A thing that guys like Dwight Howard hasn't done is that he's he's done almost more like what Kobe did. He's transformed his game into where he doesn't really depend on his freakish athleticism.
No.
I mean, he still is 6'8", 270, and he's a freak.
No, he is far and beyond the most freakish human being
Alive.
I have ever seen. I mean, he's you said it right. He's the most freakish dude alive.
He is, but his game has evolved to the point where he doesn't need to be.
It's in his head.
He's smart. He's a terrific
He's got
passer.
one of the best basketball IQs, if not the best, in the league.
Oh yeah,
because they made commercials out of it. He studies the game non-stop.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, like I said,
and he's gotten to the point where, and we sound like ESPN here at this point, but he goes out there and he plays because he likes to.
He does. He loves it. I mean,
and then
he's a special talent. 20 years from now, we'll look back and we'll just we'll miss. We need to cherish this time because we're seeing guys like Durant.
I try to watch him as much as I can because
he's great.
It's like I imagine it like our parents. My dad he's not a huge basketball fan, but watching Jordan is something he tells me he will never forget because it's Jordan. There is no other guy like Jordan, and that we did not get to watch Jordan play live in his prime, which is I'd give a lot of things to be able to watch that.
Yep.
Because it's one of those things where we have these we live up to all these comparisons now. And you're sitting at, where do we stand in history as far as basketball is concerned? Because you have so many guys. You have the Kareem, you got Magic, you got Bird, you've got Jordan. Just imagine what Larry Bird's numbers would be if he was comfortable with the three-point line. It was inducted, 7 or 8 years after he got into the league.
Yeah.
And he finally started being able to utilize that, after a season or two with it being there.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about the possibilities and the development of the game, and exactly like you said, how it's evolved.
Yep.
It's now and going forward for the next 10, 15 years, and I would hope under Adam Silver that he's learned enough from David Stern.
Oh, I'm sure. I heard in an interview he said he's been working directly under Stern for like 15 years.
Yeah, for about 15 years. That's right. But I would hope he has learned enough to where he keeps continuing to elevate play because Stern has set it up for the next 10 to 15 years, regardless of what Silver does, unless he botches a TV contract. The league is going to be incredible.
Well, so much talent. We talked about the guys that have come in the league in recent years, young guys like Kyrie and Anthony Davis and guys like Bradley Beal and Andre Drummond.
We're talking about it in Orlando
Kevin
before
Love.
we get off on the tangent. Orlando's got 4 or 5 guys you could potentially see being all-stars in, 4 or 5 years.
Well, and then here's another. Okay, so you remember when I brought up that video? I wanted to talk about one thing while I was talking about Orlando. Well, and this totally fits into what we're talking about, the future of the league. This video surfaced this weekend on YouTube, and then I ended up noticing it on Twitter. I'm not sure if you did this. This kid he's currently a sophomore in high school, so he's class of 2016.
Oh, my.
He's number 1 in the nation in that class.
Yeah.
His ESPN scout grade is 97.
Oh, wow.
He's 7'1". ESPN here has him listed as 7 foot 200 pounds. But what I saw 7'1", and his name is Thon Maker. He dribbles like a guard. Like, YouTube him and watch his mixtape. He's got handles.
Thon Maker?
Thon, Thon Maker, Maker. I watched this mixtape, this YouTube mixtape that showed up on Twitter this weekend. He's 7'1", he's a 10th grader, and he's got handles. He puts the ball on the floor and takes guys off the dribble and slams, and he's not the greatest shooter, but he can shoot pretty well.
I'm reading a title that popped up first on here on USA Today Sports. It says, Thon Maker, a 7'1" high school sophomore, already has a handle and jumper.
It's nuts. Watch the video.
I'm going to do it right here while we're talking.
It's unbelievable. And according to ESPN, he's already got offers from Arizona, Georgetown, Miami, Virginia. Those will obviously go up being the number 1 recruit. And with this popularity.
Oh my dude.
Yeah. No joke. The guy, and he's 7'1". It's It's unbelievable. Anybody that
I don't know why you would want to. I mean, if I saw that dude on the court,
I mean,
dude, he just drilled threes like.
I'm watching. I just clicked on one of these videos. He was bringing the ball up. He caught the ball, brought it up. There's pressure at before half court. He went behind the back a couple of times, then beat his guy off the dribble and went slam.
This kid's 16.
Yeah, and 7'1" and does this stuff.
He's 16 and he's 7'1".
Yeah, 7'1".
I don't know why that. I mean, I don't know why I didn't just think of that automatically. I mean, I've said both of these things, and oh, dude. I mean, he's still got room to grow.
That's what I'm saying.
This dude could end up 7'4".
And he's got handles and can shoot. And he's athletic.
He doesn't even have to jump.
He's quick.
Dude, he's got stroke.
That's what I'm saying. I told you, dude, when I saw this video.
If anybody, the link is that I'm watching right now is on the biglead.com. It's through USA Today. This video is
unbelievable.
I don't know what I'm watching right
That's
now.
what I'm saying. 7'1", and he does these things. It's crazy.
When he puts his hand up, I'm just guesstimating here, but when he puts his hand up standing on the floor, his middle finger is maybe 2 inches shy of the rim. He's got I'm watching right now. His footwork looks pretty terrific. He's got a really good spot up 3-point shot.
Yep.
On what I'm watching, and his stroke is, I mean, rivals. You know, like it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's
smooth.
It's
natural,
prototype.
Maybe?
It's
prototype.
It's
yeah, it's
prototype
very natural
form.
looking. It comes,
Exactly.
It just looks right. It doesn't. Look,
it does.
It just looks like it's pretty. It looks effortless almost.
Exactly.
And he just kind of flicks it up.
And
it
he,
looks nice.
I mean, maybe we'll hit on that on the show. Thursday and tomorrow night even we'll be on KRNU. I know John wants to talk about the draft. We maybe talk about that with him a little bit.
Well, that's the crazy thing though, is that this guy won't even being a sophomore now. And he graduates
Junior,
2016.
senior.
So yeah, he'll be in the draft
2017
after the
18.
2017.
This is a dude who will get in the league about the time Wiggins, Parker, and Embiid are, if they haven't already.
They're like going into getting their second contract.
They'll be looking at their second contract, and they'll potentially be the All-Star player already.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
A freak. It's nuts.
I think that's a good note to end on.
It is.
So,
thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. On that note,
tomorrow night we'll be on KRNU. That's 90.3 locally in Lincoln. It's also online at krnu.unl.edu. We'll be guests on a show talking about basketball around 5 to 5:30. It looks like we'll be going sometime around there. It should be fun. It'll be cool to be almost interviewed. We'll be the resident NBA experts at the time. It should be fun. But then other than that, we've got our show Wednesday, 6 to 8, krnu.unl.edu.
Try and spice things up this Wednesday. We got we maybe might be looking at doing a new segment, being as there's no games on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday due to All-Star Weekend.
Mm-hmm. We'll definitely get into the All-Star.
Yeah, definitely. We'll still be getting into that. We'll see if we can't squeeze some other stuff in and get you guys some new content other than what we're used to discussing. With that being said, I'm Drew Montanye.
Brandon Wendt.
And we're going to cut out for now. We'll see you guys next Sunday and see you on Wednesday if you listen. Thanks.
Don Maker.